In this video I'm going to talk about navigation and structure. Both become very important as you start to write your novel because you soon end up dealing with a very complex document that's full of a lot of text. So it's important that you somehow find a way to keep control of all that complexity. Within Word you're going to do that using outlining. That is going to handle the structure and the framework of the story, and it's just like this, has looked like this for years and years and years. This is Word's outlining screen. You should be familiar with this if you're trying to write a novel because you should be working with this from the outset. Part 1 here is a level 1 heading that is already set in the styles within Word. You don't need to worry about setting anything up. It's already there. You can just use it out of the box. This is a level 2 heading and this is a level 3 heading, and those would be used in a books where, say, you have a part, you have a chapter and you have a scene, and you simply label each one like this, and when they're in an outline you can move them up and down. So if you had text for that, it would have moved with the heading. So it's a simple way of rearranging things. It looks quite clean like this, and it is until you start to get some text, but it's a good way of just brainstorming. You know, if we went to say, well, let's tab there, that would give us another level 2 heading, and we'll put something in here, and then it will automatically give us another level 2 heading, and then if we want to put a scene after there, we just go another tab will indent it further, or shift tab will take it out so we could do part 3. So it makes for a very simple way of just brainstorming through things, and just to get a framework of a story, it's actually very good. One thing I should say is that you will not always have these names in the finished book, but you will need to label them when you're actually writing the book from the outset, just so that you know what each one is. I mean, if you simply number them, you can do that within Word, you can end up with a lot of numbers that don't mean anything. So I would recommend that you label your parts, your chapters, your scenes for your own sake, and then when it comes to delivery, just take them out and put in some boilerplate numbers or page breaks or whatever to get around all that. Standard Word outlining unfortunately gets very messy when you start to get working on your book and you've got lots of text in there, because it's not easy to navigate and it's not easy to manage. Here is the text for my non-fiction book, Writing a User Manual, which is a very heavily structured book since it is non-fiction with different chapters, different parts, different structures. And here it is just in normal view, and if we go to outlining we can see, well, it's a bit of a mess really. That is a level 1 heading, I know that, but out of the box it will show me bits of text too, and I have to go into the outlining thing here and start telling it, well, I only really want to see 3 levels, and then we get this, which is okay, but it's still, you know, it's not terribly intuitive. And this is a kind of outlining that we've had to work with for years and years with Word, and I always find it very difficult, and you often find that a heading will lose the text beneath it, and it's just not great to work with, and it put me off Word for years and years. But happily there is something rather better now, and we can see it very quickly here by bringing up the navigation sidebar. And the easiest way to do that in Word is, don't mess around with windows or anything, just do a Command Control F. We'll bring up that sidebar as if we want to search for something, but actually it has a navigation sidebar in there, and look, that for any Scrivener user is something that is very, very familiar indeed. And this, I think, is, once your book's underway, is going to be the way that you handle it. This is a live navigation sidebar hooked into those outlines, those heading 1, 2 and 3s that we've got in the document. And you can see it very easily here. There's a level 3. If we want to go to it, we go straight to that part of the document. I have level 4 in here as well, so we can go down to those. We can collapse them. We can go just back to heading 1 very easily to see the structure of the entire book like that. And we can also move things around. So if I wanted that to move there, I just move that and all of the text would follow with it. And it's important to remember that you don't have to go back to that outline screen to mess around with the outline yourself. You can do it directly in print view here. So imagine I want to put in another second level heading. I'll just type something there in the normal text style, and then just pull down home to give me the styles, and I will make that a heading 2. And there you see it's come up in the sidebar. We have our whole new section level heading just created straight within the text. So this is, really very powerful stuff that you can use to navigate, to keep control, and to generally stay focused on the work as you progress. Finally, one hidden gem that there is in this new sidebar layout. One of the things that's driven me nuts about Word over the years is that it's very difficult to get a selective word count, to find out how long a scene is, or a section of scenes, or a part, or a chapter. The only way you could do that would be to drag your cursor over the text you want to count and then tell Word to count it, which is a real pain. Those days are over. You can now get an instant word count of anything that has a heading above it. So if I want to find out how long this particular heading is, I go there and say select heading and content. Okay, that tells me there that this is 465 words out of 83,000 in total. If I want to know how long that section is, I do that again. I right click there, select heading and content. That heading, that section is 6,000 words out of, again, 83,000 words. So you have instant section word counts, and that is a real gem, trust me. Now finally, I have to emphasize that everything I've been talking about here has concerned one specific version of Word, that is Word 2010 for Windows. It doesn't apply to any earlier versions of Word, and it certainly doesn't apply, unfortunately, to Word 2011 on the Mac. You might be tempted to think that because it's on the Mac it ought to be a better version. Sadly, that isn't the truth. Word on the Mac is pretty grim, frankly. If we try double clicking between pages here, nothing happens. If we try that trick of getting a selective word count, nothing happens. If we try even dragging things around in the sidebar, nothing happens. You can hide the ribbon, but that's about it. You still have this junk. And the truth is, I'm afraid that Word on Windows is a lot cleaner and a lot nicer to use than Word on the Mac. And if I have to do serious word processing on the Mac, I tend to use Apple's own word processor, Pages, which may be the subject of another video before long, I don't know. But on Mac anyway, Microsoft Word sucks, I'm afraid. I hope those few thoughts on Word gave you a little insight into ways in which you can make it look a little bit better. I have to confess, however, that I do not write my novels in Word, even though I often end up editing them in it. My primary writing tool for several years now has been this, which is a wonderful piece of software called Scrivener, which is particularly suited and designed for creative writing. I can do everything from writing to outlining through a corkboard, through ordinary outlining, through lots of other very clever things. As you will see at the end of these videos, there's a little ebook I've written on Kindle about Scrivener, and I will shortly, as soon as I've got the time, come back here and do a few more videos about Scrivener itself to show you some of the finer points of this quite amazing piece of software, and hopefully interest you in trying it yourself on Mac and the new Windows version. Anyway, that's me for now. Goodbye.